Hello and welcome to my meditation. My name is Debra Baker and I'm delighted that you have joined us for this little while. We've been talking about finding messages from the infinite in different places. And this week we are going to look into finding the voice of God in coincidences. You ready? Let's get started. Let's begin with our 3 nice, really deep breaths. Breathing down into our chest. Feeling the front of your chest expand, holding it for a moment, and then releasing it. And now breathe into your chest and your upper back, nice deep breath. Hold it for a moment, and then when you're ready, let it go. And now take the deepest breath you've taken all day. Breathing into your chest, your upper back, and all the way down into your belly. Just hold it for a moment. Feel that sense of expansion in your body. And then let it go. And so I'm sure, first we got to relax our body. So let's just draw everything up to the middle line. Pressing our feet and our knees and our legs together, drawing our arms, drawing our arms into our sides, clenching our fists and bringing them up to our shoulders. Gently tuck your chin a little so that you're stretching out the back of your neck just a little. And then take a deep breath and squeeze everything to the center line. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Bring your shoulders up to your ears and just squeeze your head for just a moment. And then let it go. So I was asking my guides, guardian angels, what our next topic would be. Where do we find these messages? And I heard in coincidences, and I would imagine that you, like me, have had lots of experiences with coincidences. I think once we become spiritually minded at all, we start to notice the synchronicity, and I think that the universe is in divine order, and when that divine order shows up in our lives, it's just amazing. And we notice. And so I encourage you to make a decision to notice the coincidences that show up in your life. Things that, wow, the timing of that was perfect. Let's just take a moment to relax into that idea. Maybe ask our higher selves, our infinite selves, God, the one presence, the one power, to speak to us through coincidences in the week ahead. Just kind of relax into it. And so I was trying to think of examples from my own life, and I have a ton of them. A plethora of them from experiences when I've been to Sedona, Arizona, to the extent that I call it the Sedona experience. So one of my favorite ones, Lance and I had the chance meeting with a group of people, and this one guy was saying some really deeply spiritual things, so I asked for his, I have a public Facebook, as you know, and I asked for his Facebook. And we connected, and I looked on his Facebook, and there was this really cool place that he mentioned on his page several times that I'd never been to in Sedona. But it's kind of filed it away because we only had one more day there. And our plan was to do some shopping for the grandkids. But I also wanted to charge my crystals because the energy in Sedona is just amazing. So I usually bring my favorite crystals, the ones that I use when I do readings for clients, or some of the ones that I use when I do energy work. And so I wanted to be able to just have them outside somewhere in one of the many, many sacred places in Sedona. But we were going shopping. So we went shopping for the grandkids, and we come into this little kiosk, really. And there was the man from the night before, working. And I said, this is one of the very few places where I can ask this question comfortably, but can you tell me a place where I can go to charge my crystals? And his face lit up and he said, absolutely. And he gave Lance, my husband, directions, and we set off. And so we get there, and I'll have photos of it at the end of this meditation. And we get there, and it's this Buddhist sacred site called the Amitabha Stupa. And you walk around it 3 times, holding your intention in your heart. And there were also, lots of seats and benches and things around this building, or this structure. So I walked around it 3 times, and I had lots of intentions in my heart. This was easily 10 years ago. And one of them, secret intention, was that this guy would be finished on this bench that I wanted to sit on by the time I was finished. So I walk around it 3 times, and sure enough, he had gotten up. So I walked over to it, and I sat down, and I spread my crystals out on the bench next to me, and it was beautiful sunshine, not too hot, not too cold, just a perfect day. And so Lance said, I'll just go hike for a little bit if you want to sit here. And I went into this deep, deep meditation. And instantly, like I've never done before. And I went into this meditation, and at first I felt like I was kind of hearing voices from some of the rocks. I was looking up at them because the scenery is just so beautiful. And then I closed my eyes, and I was speaking to my guides, and my guides were speaking to me, and I just had this amazing experience. And I was aware that a tour bus showed up, and I could feel the people walking by me, and I could kind of hear muted voices. And I was probably there for 2 hours. And I downloaded so much information about my practice and what I was to do next, my book that was about to come out. And it was just this phenomenal experience. And what made me come out of the meditation was my stomach was growling. I was hungry. And Lance had been around, and I know that he was watching out for me, which was really precious. And I just had what I called the Sedona experience. And he said, is there any place else that you want to stop? And I said, oh my gosh, my cup is full. It was such an amazing experience, and which is why I lead meditations, and I would like to do more or some in-person meditations where we get into a really, really deep state of meditation for 45 or 50 minutes. Because it's so powerful to be in that combined energy. But you don't have to be in meditation to experience coincidences. And another time in Sedona, we were walking, we had just gotten there, and we wanted to look, I wanted to go to this crystal store, which I figured was probably closed because it was a Sunday evening. And I walk in, and this lady's standing there, and she says, oh, are you here for the meditation? And I said, no, we're just kind of here to go shopping. And she looked at me kind of funny, and she said, no, you're here for the meditation. So I asked her how much it was, and Lance said, you go ahead and go to the meditation, and I'll wait in the car or whatever, go run an errand. And so I had this meditation. I went upstairs, and it was partly my giving messages to the other people who were there, which I didn't mind at all. But I also downloaded this image of this crystal that I was supposed to wire wrap into a necklace, and I'm actually wearing it today. Coincidence. It was a crystal that I knew I already owned. I had in my possession at home, and so I went home and I made it And it's been a very, very special necklace pendant to me. And so there's just many, many ways that Spirit talks to us. You know, even if it's just a chance encounter. I was standing in line at a Starbucks one time at like 6 in the morning. I'm not even sure what airport it was. And this man was standing behind me, and I struck up a conversation with him. And we talked all the way through the line and all the way actually out to our gates. And I absolutely know that we had a soul connection. We had past lives together. And it wasn't anything romantic. It was a deeply, deeply spiritual connection. And I knew he felt it too, but he wasn't quite sure, you know, what to do with that information. And so I just happened to glance over as his plane was loading, and he's about to walk down the runway or the jetway, and he turned and looked at me, and we made eye contact. And I just think, wow, there are people that we are connected to all over this planet. We are so, so blessed. Whether it's running into your neighbor at the grocery store, or, you know, hearing something on the radio or on TV or even in a song. Coincidences are there for us in ways that we don't expect. I think that's what makes it a coincidence, because we're not expecting to see someone or something or hear something. So let's just be quiet for a moment and just be open to that possibility, and maybe a coincidence will come to you, something will come to you. I have one more story about a dear, dear friend of mine. And we both I was a year behind her in college, and I was kind of following in her path for a year. And we, became friends because we both happened to be in this one class together. And we just instantly clicked, and we shared a desk at the newspaper office. And there were times when I would find a note written on the desk, on the pad, and I'd think, gosh, I don't remember writing that, because her handwriting was so similar to mine. It was crazy. And we're sitting there one time, and people were talking about birthdays, and we found out we had the same birthday. There's just those little things, those little ways that God decides to remain anonymous, but we know that the one presence and the one power is clearly in the center of this experience. And then we have the opportunity to ask, what is mine to do with this experience? What do I need to know? Often it's just comfort. And I don't mean to minimize comfort, because comfort is big, comfort is significant. Thank goodness we have comfort. So let's remember that God is speaking to us all the time. The one presence, the one power has messages for us everywhere. And really the only thing that's required is to be paying attention. There's a song that's let your music soar. And it says, God's in every note and God's in every score. So let your music soar. And I think that looking for the oneness everywhere, whether it's in music or in writings or in scenery or, in what's going on around us. How many times have you heard someone say, I just happened to be, turning the channel, showing up at this place at this time, whatever it may be. When we align ourselves with the one presence and the one power, miraculous and wondrous things happen. So let's take a deep breath and remind ourselves to align our thoughts, words, and actions and our bodies with the one presence and the one power, moving in, through, and as us in every moment. So there's no longer any need to play small, to imagine that we're insignificant, to hide. We are one with all it is. You are one with all it is. The one presence and the one power is moving in, through, and as us, as you, as me, in every moment. You are whole and perfect, exactly as you are. The humanness doesn't even know what the definition of perfection, but the infinite, your soul, your truest essence, is perfection itself, right? So the one presence and the one power moving in, through, and as me honors and recognizes the one presence and the one power moving in, through, and as you. Namaste. Have a wonderful week.